Okay. Formal written advance notice of this meeting as required by NJSA 10-4-1 has been provided. At least 48 hours in advance of today, giving the time, date, and location, and to the extent known at the time, the agenda of this meeting. Such notice stated that formal action may or may not be taken. The notice was posted on the bulletin board outside the offices of the municipal clerk, reserved for this and other similar announcements, provided to the Suburban Trends, the newspaper designated by the Borough Council to receive such notices, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Can we stand for a pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Dean here tonight?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Quigley.
Here.
Mrs. Novak.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Here.
Mr. Silva still may be here. He has got called into work. Mr. Kimberlin is excused. Councilman Devine.
Here.
Mr. Silverstein.
Here. Just so everyone knows, this is our first meeting that's being televised.
Oh. You're on your best behavior.
Right. First order of business is approval of the minutes of April 20th, 2023. Have a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Have a roll call, please.
You don't have to.
But you can't see them. They're supposed to be over there. There's a sign between and just zoom in on the screen.
Can a roll call on the minutes, please?
Sure.
Okay.
For being technical difficulties. Mr. Quigley.
Yes.
Mrs. Novak.
Yes.
Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Abstain.
Mr. Silverstein.
Yes. Abstain or present?
I'm present. I'll vote present.
Okay. I don't believe we have any correspondence. Executive Director's report.
Nothing new from the last meeting.
Okay. Just an update for the board. There's been no movement on the Washington building. There's been no movement on Bill Smith's project since the last time we heard either of those. We did send a 30-day letter to Mr. Metamucci. I don't know how many days are left on that.
I don't know the exact, I think it was about 2 weeks, we have about another 2 weeks.
Okay, we have about another 2 weeks as of tonight. We have not heard anything from him. If we do not hear anything from him, it would certainly be my recommendation that we start to inform him about what actions we can take. Those actions include recommending to the borough, to the mayor and council that they void the pilot agreement, and the action we can take is to void the redevelopers agreement. I hope it doesn't come to that, but we will see. Today, I did reach out to a developer and tried to see if he would have any interest in buying the project from Mr. Metamucci, which would probably be the best alternative if someone could buy a already approved project. I don't know what'll come with that, but hopefully something will. If not, we're just going to have to go along with this and try to get this to the best resolution that we can. Okay. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else I have to report to you from last meeting. So tonight, what we're going to do is we have the senior housing redevelopment plan at 519 Ringwood Avenue, Block 2300, lots 1, 7, and 10, and Block 2600, Lot 3, courtesy review of the redevelopment plan. So what's going to happen tonight is Deb's going to go over the plan, which you all got last month, to review. The idea here is that she's presenting to us what the plan is. There's no application before us because they have not yet developed any actual plans for what the building is going to be or how the property is going to be laid out. But this is the plan that will fit what they want to do. So the idea here is it becomes a courtesy review to us. We can give recommendations to Deb. That, I believe, then goes to the mayor and council for a first reading. It then goes to the planning board for their input, and then back to the mayor and council for a second reading. So for us, it's really courtesy and input, and then that's all we really need to do with this. Okay, there's no vote or anything, I mean, probably just as a recommendation.
No, yeah, exactly.
No, just a recommendation.
They can listen to comments, but
Right.
you don't take any formal action.
Right, okay. So Deb, you're on.
Okay. So I just want to make one correction to the lot that you mentioned.
Okay.
Okay. It's, let me just start. So it's the Passaic County, Pompton Lakes Senior Housing Redevelopment Plan. The site is block 2300, lots 1, 7, and 10, and block 2600, lot 2.
Okay,
Okay. The borough at this time is entertaining a request to vacate the paper street that bisects the property. That is being handled by the borough attorney, Mark Semeraro. So you'll see the blocks up on the screens, and you see the area right between the two parcels. That's the area that's being looked at to vacate.
Can I just jump in on that? We had a meeting actually today about it, and we're moving that along as quickly as we can for the county's sake, but there will be some determination about the recycling center, about getting some more property to us eventually, and it will be worked into the agreement to maybe give us a little more room in the recycling center.
So it's 3.6 acres. Right now on there, if you've been to the site and seen it, or, you know, the recycling area and all, it's the county DPW will be relocating. The salt shed is intended to remain somewhere on the property, and the town's recycling center will remain. And based on site plan, when they get around to it, then it'll be determined the exact location and size of it.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Does Pompton Lakes get our salt from that salt shed?
We do, so that when we worked out, when they came to me with this project initially, I said, look, we need the salt at the shed, and you do too, because we were gonna go all the way down to 23 and come all the way back up to West Milford. So at that point, they decided to change it. Initially, it wasn't gonna keep the salt shed longer. They're now going to keep it in a different format. It won't be a big tall cone building, it'll probably be a flat building, and then we'll be keeping our salt there.
Great, thank you.
So through the area in need process, which is the first stage in redevelopment, as you're aware, we had a council resolution back in 2018. So it was resolution 18-99. That's what authorized the planning board to investigate the site. The planning board, through resolution PB 04 in 2021, recommended to the council that the area be deemed in need of redevelopment. And then the council resolution 21-155 designated the area as being in need. So you can see that some time has gone by. A lot of that has been due to the county and their indecisiveness as to what they were doing with the property. They were talking back and forth with the municipality, trying to come up with ideas. They wanted to do a senior housing complex. To the town's credit, they really pushed hard for prioritization for seniors of the community to get priority. So this has taken some time to get it to this point, and determine that we would be doing a redevelopment plan from here. So in the redevelopment process, we are now between steps 5 and 6. Okay, so this is, like we were saying, a courtesy review. The plan has been prepared under the authorization of the council, and it will be before, we're right before number 5. We've been authorized, it will go back to the council. Step 6 will be the planning board, review for consistency, and then it goes back to the council for the ordinance and public hearing. So, you know, you have a first reading in between what is now showing up there as 5 and 6 also. And then it goes on to implementation from there. So in terms of the plan preparation, a master plan, as we know, can be developed either speculatively by the municipality, or it can be brought to the town by a developer that's interested in proposing a concept. In this case, it came to us from the county, the housing authority, which is, it's called the Passaic County Public Housing Agency. It's a nonprofit associated with the county. They work very closely together. The county has been in on all the meetings that were involved on this also. So the housing agency is actually purchasing the site from the county. They have provided the remedial action report, which has resulted in unrestricted use that comes from a licensed site remediation professional. This information, it gets submitted to DEP. So it is cleaned up to residential standards. And that's the important part for us to know. The one caveat in the letter that went to DEP and also that we obtained is that at the time that they go to knock down the buildings that are there, they would actually look for contamination associated with the building. It could be asbestos related and other types of items, but only inside the building would there be any potential for additional cleanup, and that takes place later on. Under the redevelopment plan that was prepared and provided to you in a draft form so far, we had the principal permitted uses. So we're looking at age-restricted residential housing, a provision for a community center, first floor uses that are other than residential could include a restaurant or a cafe, retail sales and services, personal services, which would be, like beauty salons and things like that, a bank, medical offices could go down there, government facilities on the property overall, or any combination there. And as we're aware, just through the plans and through the concepts that we've seen, there is a desire for the age-restricted housing, the mix of the uses for the first floor, and the government facilities could even include a housing office, or it includes, it includes the salt shed, it includes the recycling center, so it's things like that. In terms of accessory uses for the property, we're looking at amenities that would be associated with residential development. So it could be a fitness center, definitely, you'd have lobbies and laundry rooms, rental office, recreation rooms. Those would all be allowed as accessory to residential. Also, any uses that are, customary or subordinate to that maybe just, storage rooms and things like that. The off-street parking, signage, fences and walls, outdoor amenities, including things like small structures, gazebos or pergolas. There may be, different types of trails that'll go through there, walking trails. Private swimming pools would be a permitted use. There is a requirement, as with everything else, all other uses that we've been dealing with for the electric vehicle charging stations. That would be in accordance with our regulations. There's encouragement for things like green roofs and solar energy, including rooftops and parking canopies.
No floodway in this property, is that correct?
Any floodway on the site?
There's no floodway.
I don't know exactly where the line is, Mayor. It's not anywhere near where development would be proposed. In terms of bulk regulations, we would allow multiple structures on the lot. The assumption is that it's going to be consolidated, the lots. If not, they would be under single ownership. The minimum lot size, an acre. Minimum lot width, 100 feet. Maximum building height, 4 stories and 60 feet. And that would exclude rooftop mechanicals and the screening around them. The minimum front yard setback, 10 feet. We're kind of encouraging it to be closer to the road, have the amenities behind it, but they could decide to make it a different configuration. Minimum rear yard, 40 feet, minimum side yards, 10. Maximum building coverage, 20%. Maximum impervious coverage, 60%, so that's accounting for, your parking lots in there. The maximum density, 25 units per acre. or 65 dwelling units max on this property. Like I said, it's 3.6 acres. Then accessory structures, no accessory buildings in the required front yard. Maximum building heights of accessory structures of 16 feet, and the minimum side yards, side and rear yard for accessory structures would be 10 feet. The government facilities, like I mentioned, would be that the recycling center remains somewhere on the site. Salt dome relocated here, and that facilities located within the redevelopment area that serve a government function, including the salt dome. The county should consult back with the redevelopment agency at the time of planning and the planning board. Generally they're courtesy reviews, but we want to make sure that they do come back, especially if they're relocating it.
So that would include something like a county housing office or something like that?
Yeah, but the county housing office, it could be separate from the main building, or it could just be on the first floor.
Right, okay. Okay.
So next steps, like we were talking, first it would be that from here, a recommendation would go to the council. The council would hold a first reading. It gets sent to the planning board for master plan consistency by the council. Goes back to the council for a second reading. That's when the public hearing is held. And the redevelopment agency, as we said at the beginning of this, may offer comments and recommendations related to this for the planning board and the council to inform their decisions. And upon the planning board and council's approval, the redevelopment plan would supersede the underlying zoning that's there now, unless otherwise noted, but we have it as supersede. Okay, that's basically what we're proposing at the site in terms of the redevelopment plan. Okay, just remember that what we have here is a proposed development that we've been able to work closely with. So the hope is that if this gets approved, that once it goes through the process, you're basically looking at it more from what you want to see in terms of the building and all that later on. That will come back to you after the plan is adopted. Okay, that's when you weigh in on the.
Because theoretically, they will have developed their actual building plans and project in accordance with this plan.
Right, not just a concept.
Not just a concept.
Right now they have a pretty drawing, let's say.
Okay.
Does the county pay tax on that building now? And will this new pay tax? Will they pay
They
tax?
don't pay taxes now. The first floor, if you put in doctor's offices or your retail or anything there, they would pay taxes.
Okay.
So I have two suggestions based on what I saw in the presentation. One, in the principal uses, notice that the restaurant said excluding drive-throughs. I'm thinking that maybe we might want to consider doing the same thing for banks, because drive-throughs have been, yeah. And then the second thing is, you mentioned that, there's a 10-foot minimum front yard setback, but we're not, the goal is to, I guess, to encourage the building to be a little bit closer to the street, but we don't know what they're necessarily coming up with. So I'm just wondering if maybe establishing a maximum front yard setback might be a good idea too, at least kind of say design within these parameters. Well, I don't think what we want to see, at least from my perspective, is the lot line, a sea of parking, and then the building set all the way to the rear of the property. So I think just establishing that. I know that obviously some of the rear yard setback's going to do that too, but just a thought, if we want the building set closer, we might also want to say within this envelope, this building should start.
One thing that you should realize is that right now there is, I think, a structure or two that's there I think it's by Ringwood Avenue, that's like close to the road.
Yes,
And that was also to respect that, that lot.
That, like,
You know,
street
that
lot, yeah, that
setback.
street front, yeah,
Because we don't
exactly.
want everything.
but they're gonna be tearing that down, I'm assuming, so they're
Yeah.
basically working with a blank slate at that point.
Yeah.
is-
Only
We
on,
don't know it,
but only on their garage part. The other building stays
for the time being.
for the time being.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where Northeast Supply is, or who's ever occupying, that's a separate, right, it's a separate building.
That's part of that, this
No, it's
development?
not. Can you go back?
Right, that's what I'm
No,
saying
Go back to the
is-
original plot plan, so we're all on the same page with this, please. Thanks. So when you look at the lot, I can't see the.
Right, it's like, it's on the corner of Locust.
Right. That
Northeast.
building is,
Most of the time- Yeah, the other, that is not in,
that's
So-
somebody else's building.
yeah, so that is coming.
No, and I understand that, but I'm saying, once they take down that garage, I mean, without having a maximum front yard setback, that garage comes down, these buildings could be anywhere on the property, more or less, not necessarily respective of the Northeast Janitorial Supply and what their existing setback is right now.
Yeah.
So by establishing that front yard setback, it's just like at least one of the buildings needs to be set closer to the street
Yes.
and maintain that street line.
I think there's a creek that goes through there, right at that building too.
It's near the back of the property, I believe.
I think it goes under Ringwood Ave,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Go right underneath Ringwood Avenue?
Yeah, I think it crosses underneath it.
Yeah.
In fact, it might even follow that like squiggly line at the
Yes.
southern end of the lot, basically.
Okay, those are good suggestions. Anyone else have any comments on this? Recommendations?
I just hope they do something that ties in with the high school, the post office, the library, the lakeside residence that we did. You know, there's a kind of a theme going through it all. We don't want this modern structure to be there. Even though it's on the other side of town, kind of, I would like something kind of a brick.
Well, that will all be in the purview of us.
No, I know, but we're gonna get a chance to make comments on it after they come up with a plan, and that's gonna be one of my comments.
No, you're right, but I mean, what'll happen is, after this plan is approved, when they come back with their building plans, then it becomes a regular redevelopment agency application, and if they come back with, make this up, with a stucco building and it's something we don't like, we can tell them to change that.
Beautiful.
So, I've had some preliminary meetings with the administrator and stuff, and, I can tell you that they reduced the size of the units because of money, financial situations. So initially, they were looking at around 50 or 55 units, and now they're probably going to be more in the 30 to 40 range, depending if they can get enough financing, which then reduces the size of the building, and a lot of the open space that's going to be left will be planted and treed and pathed, to walk through and kind of, it's going to be, for us, it's unusual, it's going to be more greenery than building. And normally it's more building than greenery. So, I think that'll be a nice.
Yeah, agreed, especially compared to what's there now.
Right.
Deb, are there any minimum sidewalk width requirements in the plan?
I don't know if they're in the plan, they're consistent with what the code has,
Okay,
yeah. And we might
because I
have,
just noticed there's like basically a large gap in the sidewalk infrastructure on that side, so.
I'll make a note of that.
I mean, the county's pretty good about their complete streets and things like that, so I don't think that'll be an issue, but again, just something to kind of,
Yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue with their property. We still have that original building.
well, yeah,
which is-
exactly.
Which
I
is an
mean,
issue.
That's still something to worry about, but at least we can take on this piece, or the borough can, rather.
And connectivity, I guess, too,
Yes.
right, so that's there.
Absolutely.
And if I'm correct, I might be wrong, but I think in the front of that building on Ringwood, there are no sidewalks.
That's correct.
That's what I'm saying,
Right.
yeah.
So if we could add sidewalks, that would be.
Right, exactly.
Yep,
We can at least tell the county to do it.
Right.
We don't have much control over what the other property owner has.
Right.
Anything else? Ben, anything you want to add?
No, my comments have been incorporated, so good, thank you.
Okay. I think you have our comments. Okay, thanks so much. We're not going to need an executive session tonight, so we're not going to do that. I've been putting that on the agenda just in case. Public discussion. Anyone want to speak to us? Seeing none, we'll close the public session. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you all.
So
Are we off? Well,